Wednesday afternoon in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The Smith household appeared to be all calm and peaceful despite what had happened just mere days before. The Smiths were no strangers to strange occurrences. They had to throw out a singing refrigerator that had been with the family for years. Apparently that fugly slut's name was Miranda, and she was sleeping around with Johnny's dad. Miranda went bye-bye because she also tried consuming the family cat. Johnny was only .75 to 6 years old. The bitch barely knew how to walk, and he was already fighting an uphill battle with baby depression. Johnny had started eating his feelings. He turned to sugar to ease the pain. He would sit in front of the cupboard eating handful after handful of sugar until one day Johnny ate too much. Johnny's mom walked in on Johnny having a fit. The kid was having a complete and total loss of brain cells. He went from wall to wall, spastically spinning like an 8-year-old's fidget spinner. Mama Johnny realized that he needed medical attention and stat. She quickly went to go get Papa. He never liked anyone disturbing him during his alone time. There had only been 2 rules in the house. Don't go into Daddy's room, and don't look at Daddy's computer. Papa had been upset that his wife had barged in on him while he was working on his My Little Pony animations. His wife was speaking nonsense, but nonetheless, he decided to go check on their child. He was completely horrified to see Johnny laying on the floor, foaming from the mouth. They instantly contacted 911. The ambulance showed up and loaded Johnny onto a special-made stretcher from Babies R Us. The entire ride was one filled with dread and anxiety. Johnny had fleeting consciousness. During his waking moments, he would say, "Baby shark do 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 do," and babble about a daddy finger. The daddy's finger statement launched a full police investigation, but that's a story for later. Johnny ended up receiving the proper medical attention he needed. 2 weeks later, Johnny was being a sad little infant again. He was sitting in the corner of his room opening surprise eggs. Instead of getting a Paw Patrol toy, he ended up getting the limited edition Superman blow-up doll. This frivolous item was of no interest to Johnny, so he did what all infants do when they don't like something. He curled up into a ball and began rolling out of his room and down the staircase towards the kitchen. You know what this bitch was about to do. Johnny slithered into the cupboard and stuck his whole ass chubby fingers into the sugar. Papa John could sniff this shit out from a mile away and was already disappointed. He skedaddled into the kitchen so he could go teach his ungrateful lump of a son how to have some human decency. He stood behind Johnny and looked down at the small child. Johnny was ass deep in the sugar, and then he felt his father's cold presence behind him. He leaped out of the sugar and slowly turned around. Johnny, Johnny. Johnny looked up at his father and glared.
Yes, Papa.
Eating sugar.
No, Papa.
Telling lies. A thought crossed Johnny's father's mind. Could his son, for once, just maybe tell the truth? Was his fatherly teaching paying off? Has Johnny matured at all? Or is he still a little shit? Johnny interrupted his father's statements with a bold, babbly,
No, Papa.
Johnny's father was so furious that he demanded that Johnny open his damn mouth. The child opened his mouth and tons of sugar just poured out of it. It was surprising that the kid didn't die. Johnny didn't want his little baby asshole getting spanked again, so he shit his diaper with rage. He shit himself so hard that he was launched towards his father's face at tremendous speeds. He then began trying to consume his dad's face. He whipped Johnny off of him and across the room onto the table. He looked at the bag of sugar and realized that the bag was far different. This wasn't sugar, this was Coke. He immediately called 911 and blamed his wife for giving the child drugs. She didn't receive a fair trial. As soon as the jury received word that she operated a kids' toy channel, she was found guilty and she got the spicy electric chair treatment. Ho had it coming. Now Papa John lived all alone with his demonic child, and quite frankly, he was terrified. Johnny never stopped taking sugar. He had developed a serious addiction to the substance, and that is no joking matter. Sometimes Johnny would turn his head all the way around and spider crawl on the ceiling. Papa John spent most of his time locked in his room doing work as to not disturb the child. As he was watching behind the meme, he heard his son scream from the kitchen. The house went completely silent. Johnny said in a beckoning tone. Reluctantly, Papa proceeded towards the kitchen. As he stepped in there, he saw Johnny, and nothing looked off about him. Well, at least at first glance. Something seemed different about his eyes, though, as if there was something different deep down, as if the child in front of him was wearing a mask.
Papa.
Yes, Johnny? Johnny grabbed a huge tub of sugar from behind him and opened the lid.
Would you like to eat sugar?
No, Johnny.
Telling lies?
No, Johnny. Johnny began to lift the tub of sugar above his head and walked closer to his father, examining him.
Open your mouth.
Before Papa could say a word, Johnny kicked his father in the pee-pee hole and made him bow before him. He groaned as he was in agonizing pain. Johnny forced open his dad's mouth and poured the entire contents of the sugar into his mouth. He began to have trouble breathing and realized that it wasn't sugar at all. It was cleaning product. He looked up at his son.
I tell lies, Papa.
Papa manages to choke out an, I know.
I am not who you think I am.
Johnny smiles as his father struggles to keep breathing, just struggling to keep his eyes open. He asks his son his last question, his very last words. Then who are you?
I am the creator. I am the one who chooses who lives and dies. I create the story that so many blindly follow. I am the dark entity working behind the scenes of everything you know. I strip people of their individuality. I penetrate the minds of the youth. I have taken over the online platform and you just happen to be someone who stood in my way. I am the YouTube toy channel that you all know and love to fear. And ultimately, I am your demise.